what's happening? Why, again, your answer is right on the money. Why is God pleased with Abel but not with Cain? Because Abel, trusting in God, gives him the first fruits, gives him the firstlings of his flock, right? And then after that, what's left over, he takes for himself, right? Whereas Cain, the way I'm reading it, in the course of time, Cain brought it. It's almost like Cain kind of took care of his own needs first, kind of look what was left over, and then shoved a little bit off to the Lord, right? It's entirely different how they were, the heart that they had in giving was entirely different between Cain and Abel, right? So it's interesting to note that Cain wasn't jealous about some material good that Abel had. We're all familiar with that kind of jealousy, like somebody else has a better boat than us, What Cain was jealous about was the Lord's affection for Abel. And so there's different kinds of jealousy. If you want to do a good, examination of conscience, you can be jealous of one another's possessions. But in the case of Cain and Abel, Cain was jealous of the admiration that Abel was able to attain from God that he himself didn't have. You also see in other parts of Scripture, in Numbers, there's a story. A young man ran and told Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the minister of Moses, one of his chosen men, said, My Lord, Moses, forbid them from prophesying. But Moses said to him, Are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, the Lord would put his spirit upon them. Right? So, again, it's not just jealous of one another's possessions. They're even jealous about the good that another person is doing. Isn't that odd that you see somebody else doing something good and feel jealous about it? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. But I think that happens, even in parish life sometimes. Or here again in Mark chapter 9, remember the story where the apostles are walking along, and Scripture, Mark 9:33 says, And they came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, Jesus asked them, What were you discussing on the way? But they were silent. On the way, they had discussed with one another who was the greatest. So what's really going on here? The apostles were jealous of each other. I mean, even the apostles were jealous of one another. And what was it that they wanted? They wanted Jesus' love. They wanted to be his favorite, I suppose, right? They wanted to claim that they were the one that Jesus loved most. But the worst case of jealousy and envy has to do with the crucifixion of Jesus from Matthew 27. Verse 15, Now at the feast the governor was accustomed to release for the crowd any one prisoner whom they wanted. And they had then a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. So when they had gathered, Pilate said to them, Whom do you want me to release for you, Barabbas or Jesus who was called the Christ? For he knew that it was out of envy that they had delivered him up. Now, this is the case not just of jealousy, but of envy. And the difference between envy and jealousy is the difference between night and day. And the difference is this. If you're jealous of another person, it means that you want what that other person has. You want it for yourself. If the guy has a beautiful boat, you want a beautiful boat too, right? Envy is different. Envy is the opposite. In a way, it's kind of the opposite of jealousy. When you're envious of the other guy, it's not that you want a boat just like his. It's that you don't want him to have any boat. Does that make sense? Envy is much, much worse. Envy is wishing ill upon another person rather than good upon yourself. So envy is something that I think, boy, I tell you what, you see it all the time in society. People envy other people. They're not just jealous, not that they just want something that the other person has for themselves. It's that they don't want the other person to have something good. They don't want the other person to be happy. I mean, envy, St. Augustine called envy the capital sin. Isn't that amazing? The capital sin. So let's wrap up then this second point with saying jealousy and envy are not pains imposed on us from the outside. I mean, jealousy and envy are something that we choose to allow ourselves to entertain. We allow ourselves to entertain these feelings. So as I'm talking tonight, if you feel a little bit convicted that at some point in your life you may have felt jealousy or envy, maybe that's something that at the end of my talk tonight you bring to the Lord and say, Lord, I don't want to feel that way anymore. I just don't want to feel that way anymore. Because what a burden it is to feel jealousy and envy. I just think it's an incredible burden to live that way. Never feeling like, always feeling like somebody else has something better or more fantastic than you. I think it's a horrible burden to have to live with. So if you find that this is something that you struggle with, I'd say bring it